Hi everyone. I'm Tang Tang from Susan's family. Today I'm bringing you a warm winter set, the capybara style. This product includes gloves and ear warmers. Let's start with the ear warmers. It's divided into the stem, the front body, the back body, the nose, and the ears, the eyes and the orange. Let's start with the stem. Begin with a chain ring. Crochet in rounds counterclockwise. The stitches used are CH, chain, X single crochet and slip stitch. Now watch me demonstrate the specific crocheting method. First, let's look at the chart. In the chart, R plus number indicates the round number. H plus number indicates the row number. The increases and decreases explanation column shows the stitch techniques needed for crocheting the current round, including increases and decreases. The total stitches column shows the total number of stitches after completing all stitches in the current round. Take the corresponding yarn. I'm using random colors here. For specific yarn, refer to the color scheme and hook size in the detail page of our product and paper instructions. The original yarn is hard to see stitch loops when crocheting. Learn the method by watching the video first. Then start crocheting. Begin by leaving a 30 cm yarn tail and tying a slip knot. Insert the hook into the knotted loop. Adjust the loop size. Hold the yarn with left hand. Hold the hook with right hand. Next cast on is 6ch. Join with the first stitch to form a circle. This indicates the casting on method is foundation chain. Cast on 6 stitches. Because the yarn has long fibers, so stitch loops are hard to see when crocheting, therefore, need to mark in advance. Take a stitch marker. Pick up the right strand below the hook to mark. This strand. After marking, crochet 1 chain stitch. The stitch marker position is the first stitch. Next, crochet the second stitch. Need to mark before crocheting. Continue to crochet the remaining chains. Pay attention to the marking. The third stitch. The fourth stitch. The fifth stitch. The sixth stitch. Complete. Pick up the first chain stitch, that is, join with a slip stitch at the stitch marker position. Pay attention, don't twist the chains. Insert. Yarn over and draw through. Pull through all loops on the hook once. Slip stitch completed. The slip stitch does not count as a stitch, need to tighten. The slip stitch is not indicated in the form. Actually, when crocheting in rounds, always finish by joining with a slip stitch and tighten. Casting on completed. Next, crochet the first round. The table shows 6x. The number before x is how many. Crochet that many single crochets. Here it means to pick up the stitch above the hook, and work one single crochet in each stitch. That is the stitch marker position. Before crocheting the first stitch, need to remove the stitch marker. Pick up the 2 strands below the hook for marking. It's the entire marking. Insert the hook into the marked stitch, and crochet one single crochet first. This way the stitch marker position becomes the first single crochet stitch. You can add another stitch marker onto this stitch marker. Identify the first stitch position. The stitch marker for the starting stitch can be removed now. Next, pick the second marker position, and crochet one single crochet. You can mark it before crocheting. Afterwards, work one single crochet in each stitch at the marked positions. If you initially can't distinguish the stitches, you can mark the entire loop on the hook with a stitch marker before each stitch. Before crocheting each stitch, you can mark the entire loop on the hook with a stitch marker. After completing the last stitch, you must place a stitch marker. Finally, join with the first stitch using a slip stitch. Because there are fewer stitches, the fabric will naturally curl, which is normal. Flip the right side out. This completes the first round. Take a look. Whichever side has more fuzz, use that as the right side. In my case, the side facing us while crocheting is the wrong side, and the other side is the right side. Use one strand of yarn to mark the right side. Move on to crochet the second round. Make one beginning chain. Work even single crochets on the stitch markers of the previous round, because there are fewer stitches on the rod. You can place a stitch marker on each stitch. Join with a slip stitch. The second round is complete. Move on to crochet the third round. Make one beginning chain. This round uses the same crocheting method as the second round. Work even single crochets on the stitch markers of the previous round. Join with a slip stitch. The third round is complete. For the remaining rounds, follow this method as demonstrated in round 3, or work until reaching the desired length. Adjust the number of rounds as needed. After completing the final round, secure with a chain stitch. Leave a 30 cm yarn tail, and break the yarn. Take the ear protector frame and thread it through the center of the post. Reach this position. Remove the stitch marker. Set it aside for later use. Now learn the front body. Begin with a foundation chain. Crochet in rounds counterclockwise. The stitch techniques used include V single crochet increase, a single crochet decrease, skip stitches. Watch my demonstration. Take the corresponding yarn. I'm using random colors here. Start by leaving a 5-10 cm yarn tail and tying a slip knot. Insert the hook into the knotted loop. Hold the yarn with left hand. Hold the hook with right hand. Next, the cast on is 2ch. This indicates the cast on method is foundation chain. Chain 2. Because the yarn has long fibers, the stitches are hard to see when crocheting. So we need to mark them in advance. Take a stitch marker. Pick up any strand below the hook to mark. Next, work 2 chains. Cast on complete. Now work the first round. The chart shows R2, 7 SC. The here means the stitches in the brackets are worked in the same position. R2 means starting crocheting from the second to last stitch of the foundation chain. Counting back from the hook side, 1, 2. This is the second to last stitch, which is where the stitch marker is placed. Work 7 single crochets. Take the stitch marker and pick up 2 strands below the hook to mark. This is the complete marking. Insert the hook into the marked stitch and work 1 single crochet. This way, the stitch marker marks the position of the first single crochet stitch. The first stitch is now complete. Continue inserting the hook into the stitch marker position of the foundation chain. Work the required number of single crochets. The stitch pattern corresponding to the chart is now complete. Remove the stitch marker from the foundation chain. Then, work a slip stitch into the first single crochet stitch of this round to finish. That is, crochet at the left side stitch marker position. Slip stitch completed. The first round is now complete. The side facing us while crocheting is considered the wrong side. The other side is considered the right side. Use one strand of yarn to mark the right side. I won't mark it here. Move on to crochet the second round. Our 2 is 7V. The number before V indicates how many stitches. Crochet that many single crochet increases in a row. This means crochet 7 single crochet increases consecutively. Make 1 beginning chain. Work 1 single crochet increase in the first stitch of the previous round. Insert the hook into the slip stitch insertion point of the previous round, which is also where the first stitch marker is placed. Crochet 2 single crochets here. As you crochet, place the starting tail above the hook. Weave in the ends as you go along. Pay attention, mark first, then crochet. To distinguish. You can place another stitch marker on the first stitch. 1 stitch. Two stitches. This completes the single crochet increase. The first stitch marker from the previous round can now be removed. Continue working single crochet increases on the left stitch. Don't forget to weave in the ends. Since we marked stitch markers for every stitch in the previous round, so insert into the marked stitch position to crochet. If only the first and last stitches were marked with stitch markers, this yarn makes it hard to see the stitches. So feel with your hands. Push aside the fluffy fibers on top. You'll faintly see 2 strands. Below feels like a small dent. Pick that dent to crochet. Or you can use a yarn needle. First insert into the previous stitch's insertion point. Then pick up the next stitch from behind. Basically this stitch is the stitch. Make a single crochet increase in this stitch. You need to make 7 single crochet increases in this round. For the rest, work 2 single crochets into every stitch. After completing the last single crochet increase, check the stitch count. Start counting stitches from the marker position. 1, 2, 3. 13. 14. This round has 14 stitches total. If you don't have a stitch marker, count each stitch by touch. Take it a bit slower. The total stitches for each round are clearly marked in the corresponding chart. I won't mention this again later. Next, join with a slip stitch in the first stitch. Pay attention. After completing each round, always join with a slip stitch to the first stitch. You can cut off the extra yarn tail from the beginning chain, or continue to hide it. This completes round 2. Continue crocheting round 3. Our 3 is XV times 7. The parentheses here indicate a group. The times number indicates how many times to repeat the pattern. Make 1 beginning chain. I'll emphasize again. You must work a beginning chain at the start of each round. I won't mention this again later. Now we're getting familiar with crocheting this yarn. Starting from this round, reduce the number of stitch markers. Mark every 3 stitches with a stitch marker. Mark the entire round of stitches, or you can mark according to your preferred stitch count. Here I'll use 3 stitches as an example. Also, always mark the first and last stitch of each round. Now let's crochet this round. First, mark it. Then make a single crochet in the first stitch of the previous round. Make a single crochet increase in the left stitch. This completes one group, XV. Let me demonstrate another group. First, make a single crochet. You can mark this stitch. Next, make a single crochet increase in the left stitch. This is the second group. Repeat XV 7 times in this round. For the remaining 5 times, work 1 single crochet and 1 single crochet increase each time. Remember to mark every 3 stitches. Join with the first stitch using a slip stitch. Pull tight. This completes the third round. Now work the fourth round. Round 4 is X, V, X times 7. Because the stitch markers from the previous round are not placed on every stitch, when crocheting this round, find the stitch position before each stitch, hold it with your hand, and then work the stitch. Keep the position held steady while crocheting. After completing, feel the adjacent stitch on the left side, which is the small hole position. There should be a noticeable dent. If you can't find it, insert a needle into the small hole for assistance. The stitch is easier to insert into compared to other positions. Pay attention that the stitch should be close to the edge of the fabric. Hold this position and continue crocheting. When making a single crochet increase, keep your fingers here at all times. Ensure both single crochets are worked into the same stitch. Keep going down. After confirming the position with your fingers, then work the next stitch. This completes a group X, V, X in the chart. Continue with a single crochet in the left stitch. In this round, we mark every 4 stitches. One single crochet increase. One single crochet. This is the second group. Continue crocheting downward using the previous method. After completing all stitches, join with a slip stitch. Pull tight. This completes the 4th round. Move on to the 5th round. Round 5 is 3 single crochets, increase, times 7. You can refer to the stitch markers from the previous round as you crochet. Check the stitch count and position for this round. To avoid missing any stitches, if you really can't find the stitch, you can also use the stitch marker positions from the previous round, combined with the stitch count for this round, to find an easy spot to insert the hook. Insert the hook near the edge of the fabric and in an easy spot. After completing the round, check the total stitches using the marked stitch markers. It should match the target stitch count. If you find the total stitches are incorrect after finishing, you'll need to unravel back to the first stitch marked in the previous round. Take it slow while unraveling. Remember to pull the yarn loop through at the end. Once unraveled, recrochet this round again. This round requires marking every 5 stitches. Follow the pattern chart and marking method as shown. Complete this round. This completes round 5. Now let's work on round 6. The chart for this round says, flow, even 35x. Flow stands for front loop only. A stitch has 2 loops. The loop closer to you is the front loop. The loop farther from you is the back loop. For this round, pick up the front loops only. Because the yarn is special. Crochet a bit slower because of the special yarn. Keep the stitch markers from the previous round in place for now. Insert your hook into both loops of the stitch first. Then remove the back loop with your hand. Work single crochets into the front loops only. Crochet slightly slower as you work. Check the stitch count between each marker after completing them. Remember to mark every 5 stitches as well. This completes round 6. Now you can remove the stitch markers from the previous round. Be careful not to remove the wrong stitch markers. Now let's crochet round 7. This round is simply working even single crochets into the stitches from the previous round. Pay attention, you're picking up the stitches, not the front loops, not working into the front loops. Check the stitch count as you go. Move the stitch markers along as you work. After completing round 7, proceed to crochet round 8. Move the stitch markers along together. After completing, work 3 chains. Completed. Skip 3 stitches below. Start single crocheting from the next stitch. Remember to mark the first stitch. Work the entire round. This completes round 8. Now let's crochet round 9. This round uses a similar crocheting method to round 6. When encountering stitches, pick up the front loops for crocheting. When encountering chain spaces, crochet at the stitch marker positions. Note that the back loop of the first stitch needs a stitch marker. To differentiate, mark this stitch marker with a thread. Afterwards, mark every 5 stitches. If you have extra stitch markers at home, you can mark each back loop. These marker positions are for crocheting the final round. If you don't have extra stitch markers, cut a piece of cotton yarn, thread the needle. Mark with cotton yarn after each stitch. If you're familiar with the positions, you don't need to mark them. This completes the 9th round. Now crochet the final round. BLO means back loop only. This round involves picking up the remaining half loops from round 8. First, pick the first stitch. Make 1 slip stitch. Transition strand position. Do not tighten. Make 1 beginning chain. Insert hook at slip stitch spot, and make 1 single crochet. Remember to mark. When completed, on the left side, pick half loops and make 2 single crochets. Next stitch is single crochet decrease. First insert hook on left side and draw the yarn through. There are 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through. This completes 1 single crochet decrease. This completes the group of stitches within the brackets in the chart. To make it clearer for everyone, I'll demonstrate using cotton yarn. Single crochet decrease. Insert the hook into the left stitch. Yarn over and draw through. This is an incomplete single crochet. Insert into the adjacent stitch. Yarn over and draw through. Complete 2 incomplete single crochets. There are 3 loops on the hook now. Yarn over the hook. Pull through all 3 loops. Pull the yarn through. 1 single crochet decrease is completed. This is the method of working single crochet decrease. I'll demonstrate another group. Pick up the front loop and work 3 single crochets. Then work a single crochet decrease in the adjacent position. Insert into the left side half loops, and draw the yarn through. Yarn over and pull through. This completes the single crochet decrease. The second group is completed. This round requires 7 groups of this stitch pattern. Complete the remaining 5 groups according to the chart. Join with the first stitch using a slip stitch. This completes the last round. Secure with a chain stitch. Cut the yarn leaving a tail about 4 times the length of the last round. Hide the excess tail inside the fabric. Set aside for later use. This completes the front body. Now let's learn the back body. Also begin with a foundation chain. Crochet in rounds counterclockwise. Follow the same crocheting method as the front body for the first 4 rounds. On the 5th round, pick up the front loops and work even. Note that you need to mark the back loops. Only mark the first stitch position in the last round. No marking needed for other positions. Cut the yarn leaving a 5-10 cm tail. I've already crocheted this part in advance. Now take one front body, and one back body for assembly. To make it clearer, I'll demonstrate the method using cotton yarn first. Thread the reserved yarn tail into the yarn needle. Place both pieces with right sides facing out. For the back body, sew into the second to last round's insertion point. That is, above the remaining half stitch. For the front body, sew into the last round stitches. When sewing, first insert into the back bodice sewing position. Insert into any stitch. Pull out through the adjacent stitch. For the front body, exit from the wrong side. Insert into the adjacent position. Gently tighten. This completes one stitch. Continue to sew the second stitch. Insert into the back body where you just exited. Exit through the adjacent position on the left side. For the front body, where you just inserted, exit upwards. Insert into the adjacent position on the left side. Gently tighten. This completes the second stitch. Continue sewing. This is the third stitch. The fourth stitch. Following this demonstration, continue sewing until just past halfway. When demonstrating with the original yarn, it's not very clear due to the yarn color. Sew slightly slower. Feel and sew one stitch at a time. Remove the marker position while sewing. Next, take out the ear cushion frame bowl. Place the flatter side against the front body. The larger hole above. Align with the hole on the front body. Remember to remove the stitch markers inside the fabric. Then take out the ear cushion frame. Thread it through this hole. Pay attention to the back body near the ear. Pass through to the lower hole below. Once completed, continue sewing. Add a small amount of stuffing while sewing. Sew all the way around this circle. Tie off and weave in the ends. Weave in a few extra stitches. Thread the reserved yarn of the rod into the sewing needle. Sew the rod to this hole for a few stitches. Secure firmly, until no frame marks are visible. Once securely fixed, tie off and weave in the ends. Installation method for the other side. Same as this side. This completes the assembly of the front and back bodies.